This is a quick and dirty overview of Kantian deontology. It will probably prove helpful later in the semester when you've gotten a little fuzzy on these things and you need a quick reminder. So remember, Kant thought that actions are morally praiseworthy only if they stem from goodwill, if they are done for the sake of duty. They don't just happen to be dutiful because we got lucky and our inclinations led us to do the right thing. Kant also said we should use the categorical imperative to figure out whether the maxim of our action, a general rule that covers the action we are considering and others like it, violates duty or not. We should not rely on received wisdom about what our duties are. We use the categorical imperative to figure this out. There are two formulations of the categorical imperative that we're focusing on. The first formulation of the categorical imperative says, act only if the maxim of your action can be made a universal law of nature. This is often referred to as the universalizability test or test of universalizability. On this version, if the maxim of your action undermines the possibility of itself, it's like a snake eating its own tail. It's illogical to do it because if everyone did it, if everyone had to do it like a law of nature, then it would undermine its own possibility. So examples of this included the lying promise, for instance, where if everyone makes a lying promise knowing they won't fulfill it, then promises cease to have meaning and lying promises no longer have value, so there's no point in doing it. The second formulation of the categorical imperative says, act so that you treat people never merely as a means to an end, but always as ends in themselves. That means as having intrinsic value. This is also known as the formula of respect for persons. And we respect these persons because they are rational. Non-rational beings, beings incapable of rationality, no longer count. If you're temporarily non-rational because you're asleep or in a coma, but you could regain rationality, you still count. But if you have never been rational, or if you have permanently lost the capacity for rationality, as if you are brain dead, then we can treat you quite differently than we would if you were still a rational being or capable of rationality in the future. So act so that you treat people never merely as a means to an end, but always as ends in themselves. And the reason we must treat them with respect is because rationality gives rise to the moral law. It's like a tiny sun that even makes morality possible. So you can use people as a means to an end, just not merely as a means to an end. There are no exceptions. What part of duty didn't you understand, Kant would say. Examples of this that we considered included picking flowers, stabbing your prof in the kidneys, lying to patients, the lying promise, and informed consent to research participation.